Okay, Dave, this is Sean Tesher again for part 2 of
hang on. I dropped something.
Okay, this is Sean Teschner with Dave in New York, and this is a victory for American Indian Chiefs of 2013, part 2. Dave, you still there? David? Okay, obviously he dropped something. He'll be right back. Pretty important victory.
I'm back. What did you say?
Dave, give us your last name.
Why don't you start this thing over, Sean? I don't even know what you did.
All right. David, I can do that. Give us your first and last name, please, for the record.
First of all, I do not have a first nor a last name. Only slaves and prisoners of war have first and last names. I have a Christian appellation and a surname, but I do not have those things. I am Sir David Andrew.
Thank you, Sir David Andrew at SirDavidAndrew.com. Do you want to leave your phone number for anybody who wants to get a hold of you?
My lands, my phone rings out the hoof as it already is, Sean.
Is it on your website? Can people contact you on your website?
Send me an email. The email's right on the website.
Okay, that's Sir David Andrew.
And then I can determine whether I want to bother talking with them.
Sir David Andrew at SirDavidAndrew.com. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir David Andrew at Sir David. Sir David at SirDavidAndrew.com.
Okay. And the time of our recording is 2:26 p.m. November 11th, 2013. Obviously, you were going to get into the gist of how this Harry Andrews and Her Majesty the Queen case affected your case, how your case, if it had gone all the way to an appellate court decision, would have established precedent in law for all indigenous peoples in the United States. So why don't you go in on that, and then afterwards explain to us the victory in court yesterday.
Well, it's not a victory yet, and it's not my case. It's the case of United States of America versus four chiefs of Akwesasne and a casino machine company. Is basically what we're dealing here with. And the case again for this hearing is U.S. District Court, Northern District of New York, and it's case number 12-CR569, and it's the United States of America versus James Gray, William Rogers, Thomas Angus, Anthony Lathing, and Joseph Heitz. The case has been an ongoing thing for well over a year. It finally went to trial on October the 31st. Isn't that convenient? On all Holy Venerable Day of the Dead, that they want to bring this thing to trial. In any case, but it's all about the rights of an Indian to be able to do and be self-governing. And the U.S. Attorney is claiming that Akwesasne does not have the right to self-government. Well, we got a real problem here. First of all, there is a United Nations Declaration on Rights of Indigenous Peoples. In that declaration, which took effect March of this year, and the United States is a signer on that declaration and are obligated as a member of the UN to comply, that all indigenous people have the right to self-govern. But it doesn't stop there. Harry Daniels, D-A-N-I-E-L-S, versus Her Majesty the Queen, case number 2003 2013 FC6, 2013 FC6. That's Frank Charlie 6. This case was 12 years in the making. Harry Daniels, I'm sorry to say, didn't survive to see the end of this case. He died over 2 years ago. However, others took the case on and completed it. It cost millions of dollars in defense and in prosecution of this case over the 12 years. It is a basis of whether the Indians have rights or not. The prosecutor is arguing in this case right now before the U.S. District Court that only Indian nations or recognized nations by the Indian Bureau of Indian Affairs have any rights to do business. The rest of them are not allowed to do business because they don't have the government's permission. Well, this case was handed down January 8, 2013, folks. January 8, 2013, and it's as big as the old Miranda versus Arizona case. Anyone remember that one and the 100 pages of it? This one's 175 pages of law. What's law, what's not.
Or basically the end of Indian slavery as we know it.
It's the end of Indian slavery, especially women. Have also been covered in here very nicely because Indian women are afraid to marry somebody who is not an Indian because under the law they lose all their rights if they marry a non-quote Indian or non-Ongwe. What a joke. This code ruled that is unconstitutional. Discrimination. But the main issue here is the right of sovereignty. Have the right of self-determination. And the court ruled in 175 pages that the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the federal government, and Her Majesty the Queen do not have the right or authority to determine anyone's right to be self-governed. Again, home rule. Gee, New York State is a home rule state, so why are they trying to enforce dictates of Albany on a sovereign nation who's trying to have home rule? Oops. And on top of it, Akwesasne is a registered corporation soul. It's not just a little club out here, and we want to be or wannabes. No, it's a registered corporation soul, Akwesasne.
And Dave, how would that interfere with their treaty rights of sovereignty to trade internationally?
What do you mean, what interferes?
Well, the state of New York saying, oh, you can't cross this river, you can't go trade with the Koreans or the Chinese because you're under our rule.
That's exactly what the issue is because Akwesasne is trying to trade. That's what La'Akwese has been locked up for 325 days for. He's the ambassador, and he's been to Mexico, he's been to Central America. I think he even went to South America, and his last trip just before he was arrested, he went to France to negotiate trade agreements. Akwesasne owns both sides of the 45th degree parallel. They own both land on both sides of the St. Lawrence River. Therefore, any ships traveling up and down the St. Lawrence River travel through their waters. They have the right to govern who passes through their waters and who don't if sovereignty is indeed declared.
And tax them.
Trying to stop that.
Well, even if the Indians wanted to tax them, they could, technically.
They have the right to tax every cargo ship that goes through the St. Lawrence River.
Just like landing and airport fees at airports, same idea.
And the international bridge that goes from Canada to the United States goes through Akwesasne. Therefore, and the toll booths or old toll booths are on Akwesasne land. They have the right to charge people a toll to go from Canada to Akwesasne to the United States, and they're not being allowed to do that either. That's money that's being stolen from them, and therefore, how can they be self-sustaining? How can they be self-governing when Canada and the United States and New York State are stealing all the revenue?
Well, Dave, I think you've summed it up. Now tell us what happened in court yesterday and why it's a victory.
Yesterday was Sunday.
I'm sorry, Friday.
You're talking about Friday. Friday was a real victory in that all week long the prosecution has bored the juror with monotonous questioning of witnesses. Some witnesses have been 4 and 6 hours on the stand. They're just dragging this thing out like the O.J. Simpson trial, trying to make a big deal out of it. However, they've squashed or suppressed any news publication of this trial. They don't want it published in the news. There's only been one article, and that was in casino.org, published an article, and that was basically what the U.S. Attorney told them to publish. And over half that article was bogus, and I wrote them a very lengthy letter citing the Riot Act and what they did, because they claimed ignorance of the law was no defense. No, the maximum of law is that ignorance of law is no excuse. The U.S. Attorney is without excuse. He is not ignorant of the law. He knows the law, and he's twisting the law, trying to make them subjective. And there's also been publications that have recently come out claiming that St. Regis is now St. Regis County, New York. Comos, ever since he took office, has been doing everything he can to annex Akwesasne to the state of New York.
By adverse possession. By adverse declaration and adverse possession.
Yes.
Yep.
And he's told these band councils, these carpetbaggers from District of Columbia, that they could be the new county legislature for St. Regis.
Yeah, the new slave whippers.
New slave whippers.
Here's your plot of land in exchange for beating on these Indians. Yep.
And then the people will be forced to pay land taxes.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dave, the victory that happened Friday, November 8th in court, you said was verbal, and you were waiting, I guess, what do you call it, a mistrial?
Yeah, we're looking at, on Friday, because of the confusion that took place on Friday, part of the confusion is Anthony Lafton took sick and has been hospitalized. Not sure of Anthony's condition right now, whether he had a stroke or heart attack or something. He is an older man. In fact, all these gentlemen are fairly up in age, 50s, 60s, maybe 70. I think Anthony's in his 70s. I'm not sure where this is at, but the stress is real bad on them, and they were forced to take attorneys. Like Lamaquisier, the judge told him on the 28th or 29th, they held him into a special hearing. When we filed a petition to recuse the judge told him that either he takes an attorney or he's going to lock him up in a padded cell for 30 days. He's already had him locked up for over 325 days, but now he's going to put him in a padded cell. Give me a break. Is that Dusky, or was he doing a Ferretta? Well, he made it appear that he was going to do a Dusky on him, but it actually was a Ferretta hearing is what he was going to attempt to do. But Lala didn't understand what the judge was trying to manipulate, and he forced him to take an attorney or spend another 30 days in jail.
Well, it sounds, Dave, as if it was an unjust and malicious prosecution, and these men really didn't have an understanding of what it was they were being charged with, held indefinitely. I saw your writs of habeas corpus posted on your website that were brilliantly written, and a lot of deep historical research attached. I'm sure that there's so much there that the judges don't even know without going back to law school what the hell's happened there. But I'm proud of you. And I know you haven't been paid a dime for your services, but all Indian people should be grateful to you, Dave, for what you've done. Tell me what happened with the Chiefs last week when they invited you to their circle.
Well, first of all, on this, people need to read the writ of habeas that went to the Supreme Court of the United States. The Supreme Court has never filed that. They've never returned it. They've never answered it. They make like it doesn't even exist.